Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So what if being a mankind idiot? One nation controlled by the media. Information age of hysteria. It's going out to idiot America.
Donald Trump has apologised today for sexually explicit comments he made about women. It follows the publication of a video from 11 years ago where he bragged about grabbing, groping and kissing women. The presidential candidate has admitted that he was wrong and pledged to be a better man tomorrow. Hillary Clinton described the footage as horrific.
You know, and
She used to be great. She's still very beautiful.
I moved on her, actually. You know, she was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
That's huge news there.
No, Nancy.
Yeah.
No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as shit. In the purple.
Whoa!
Yes.
Whoa!
Yes, the Donald has scored.
Whoa!
Oh my man. Wait, you gotta look at me when you get out. You're like,
Sets this up.
That is
will
very
you give me the
funny.
thumbs
Look
up?
at you. You are a
You
piece.
gotta put the thumbs up. You gotta get the thumbs up.
Can't be too happy. Yeah, let me.
It's very
You
funny.
gotta give me.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the publicist. No, it's her. It's
Yeah, that's it, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Look at those legs. All I can see is the legs.
No, it looks good.
Come on, shorty.
Ooh, nice legs, huh?
Oof, get out of the way, honey. Oh, it's good legs. Go ahead.
It's always good if you don't fall out of the bus. Like Ford, Gerald Ford, remember?
There's a little down below. Pull the hand.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
Mr. Trump, how
nice
are
seeing
you?
you.
Pleasure to
Terrific.
meet you.
Terrific. You know Billy Bush?
How are
Nice
you?
to see you. How you doing,
Very
Ariane?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Are you ready to be a soap star?
We're ready. Let's go. Make me a soap star.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the
Would
bus.
you like a little
Okay,
hug, darling?
absolutely.
How about a
Melania
little
said
hug for
this
the
was
bushy? I
okay.
just got off the bus.
Oh, bushy, bushy.
There we go. Excellent. Well,
Come
you've
on.
got a nice co-star here.
Good.
Yes, absolutely.
After you.
Gloria, I have to ask you, how much does an apology really matter right now? Is this, we usually say too little, too late. Is this too much, too late?
Well, he did one version of it earlier, which was not an apology. It was sorry if I offended anyone, and thought it was kind of locker room banter, and then said nothing worse than anything Bill Clinton has ever said. I think for his supporters, I think he owes them an apology, and because there are people who are sticking with him. And I think something more heartfelt, as Kayleigh McEnany was saying earlier on our air, she would appreciate, would make his supporters happier. In the larger term, I don't know whether it would make that much of a difference to undecided voters, to women voters, because there's a pattern here. Was it a week and a half ago we were talking about Alicia Machado? There is something that this tape goes beyond. It goes beyond the kind of calling women names to this question of predatory behavior.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a tipping point for a lot of Republicans who are coming out and criticizing Trump's language, but still not saying that they're going to change their minds and refuse to endorse him. And I think that's kind of the tipping point here. And in the Republicans I've been communicating with tonight, there's a lot of conversation about that, like what good would it do? He can't drop out, or if he dropped out, what would happen? I mean, there are all these kinds of conversations going on.
Let me read, and I would just go around the horn here and get everyone's opinion. Let's read some of this. This is a statement from RNC chair. This is Reince Priebus.
Right.
He says, "No woman should ever be described in these terms or talked about in this manner ever." Also, we have one from Senator John McCain just releasing a statement saying, "There are no excuses for Donald Trump's offensive and demeaning comments. No woman should ever be victimized by this kind of inappropriate behavior. He alone bears the burden of his conduct and alone should suffer the consequences." And then there are other statements that I want to, let me bring in David Chalian quickly. To Gloria's point, a lot of people are coming out and saying, hey, his statements are reprehensible. Either they're saying I can't vote for him, but none of them are saying, completely denouncing him. He still has support at many levels here, David.
Yeah, which is why, Don, that this is a twofold bombshell. There's the bombshell of the Trump campaign and now how they have to deal with it to be able to try and move beyond it to get through these final 30 days of the campaign and try to turn this thing around. There's also the bombshell inside the Republican Party about what they are doing with this nominee who could very well start bringing down folks underneath the ticket. I think the two statements you read are pretty telling. John McCain, I think, went a little further there, saying that the burden is his and he is going to have to suffer the consequences, a clear indication that there will be consequences. Whereas Reince Priebus left himself open, I think, to continued questions that he's going to have to answer, which is, okay, if your nominee has a history of saying something like this and you've just described this as completely unacceptable, what does that say about your support for this nominee? And so that is the extra step that the Reince Priebuses of the world, the Paul Ryans of the world, those folks that have actually locked arms from the Republican establishment saying, this is our nominee now, we're going forward, they're going to have to answer the question as well.
What about the Utah governor, though? The Utah governor just tweeting out tonight, Gary Hebert, saying Donald Trump's statements are beyond offensive and despicable. While I cannot vote for Hillary Clinton, Mark Preston, he says, I will not vote for Trump. Again, not supporting Hillary Clinton, but will not vote for Trump. What does he do?
Well, let's just look at this really from 50,000 feet downwards, right? The bottom line is that most people, or I should say many people in the Republican Party, never wanted Donald Trump as their nominee. Yes, he did win the primary. Yes, he got a record number of votes. But for the totality of the Republican Party, he's had problems with it. He's been unable to get the support of establishment-type Republicans who have been around for a long time. And all the phone calls I've had tonight with activists and leaders in states such as Florida and Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina, they all said the same thing to me. Are you surprised? We all knew about this. It's disgusting. It's terrible. But we've always known about this. But then a couple of them said to me, I'm still voting for him. And I said, but why? I mean, if you're so disgusted by this, I said, because it comes down to the Supreme Court for me. It comes down to the Supreme Court. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 picks perhaps on the Supreme Court in the next term. And for them, they see that as a greater good that they need to deal with. But make no mistake about it, at this point, Donald Trump's campaign, I think, is literally coming to an end in the sense that he has caused so much havoc, so many waves for the Republican Party. He has inflicted so many wounds upon himself, is that this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. When you are talking about it's okay to sexually assault a woman, it's not just about women voters. It's about fathers. It's about sons, right?
Exactly.
It's about the fact that you have a daughter. I mean, it's at this point where Donald Trump right now, I don't know how he turns it around.
Listen, everyone, Jeb Bush coming out, Mitt Romney, John Kasich, all coming out, saying basically what you're saying, Mark, like, hitting on married women, saying I have daughters, I have grandchildren, I have nieces, I don't understand this. And also, I wonder why those establishments, these are some of the responses from those people, the representatives that I put up. But I wonder why Republicans feel that he's going to appoint the people that he says he's going to appoint. And we'll discuss that. Let's discuss that in the next block. But I want to go to Brian Stelter right now because the news is the tape. This is happening because of the tape.
Right.
What do we know, Brian, about how this came to light?
This was unearthed in the Access Hollywood archives earlier this week. The producers went and found it. They were working on their own story about this, Don, but then somehow it got leaked to the Washington Post. One theory about why it was leaked is that NBC's Access Hollywood was not going to air it until at least next week after the debate. So perhaps someone inside NBC wanted this to be seen before the debate. We don't know that for sure, but that's one main theory inside the network. They are embarrassed by this leak. They're embarrassed for Billy Bush. But you know who I feel sorry for, Don? I feel sorry for the women that were being talked about on this tape. The women like Nancy O'Dell, who Trump was talking about. And most of all, I feel sorry for the parents who are watching. The parents who had to explain to their 10-year-old boy or their 10-year-old girl today what these words mean. I don't know about you, Don, but my parents tried to shield me from the kind of words that we've been hearing from this tape today. You can't shield them when it's a presidential nominee. In the same way that you couldn't shield them when Bill Clinton was engaging in sex acts in the White House. That was there
was no excuse
20
for it. I
years
don't
ago,
understand.
and now this is kind of similar.
I don't understand what the excuse is, the Bill Clinton excuse. First of all, if you think Bill Clinton is such a terrible person, why are you playing golf with him? Why are you using Bill Clinton as an excuse? Because he paid a heavy price for what he did, and there is no excuse for what Bill Clinton did. You know, even Democrats have said that, so I don't understand the Bill Clinton excuse here.
It's revealing that Trump tried to go there right away in his statement.
Well,
and he said he apologizes if anyone's offended.
Let's talk about those
He has not
words.
said anything tonight.
The B word was in there, right? The P word is in there, and then talking about women, in that way, talking about breasts and so on and so forth. There's so much that is offensive to women in this particular tape.
And to many men. And normally we wouldn't even air these tapes. But when it's a presidential nominee, we have to. Even the New York Times tonight, printing these words, because when it's someone like Trump, you have to publish it.
Yeah.
And by the way, Don, one more thought. There's probably more tapes.
Yeah.
And that's the other issue here.
Yeah. Listen, that is a big question. Are there more tapes and more? Because I actually spoke to someone at Access Hollywood that says there's so much on the editing room floor like this in the archives that could come out. Yeah.
And Don, can I just add to that? What we have on the bottom of our screen, which is obviously completely correct, it says Trump on video making vulgar comments about women. The reason why this is striking such a nerve across all gender, or both genders, I should say, is because the comments are just part of it. It's what he said. And to me, still, all of these statements by Republican leaders tonight, out of all of them, the one that I think was most striking and telling was by Kathy McMorris Rodgers, the highest ranking elected Republican
We have
in
it.
Congress.
Let's put it up. Dana.
Okay.
Yeah, we have it. She says, it's never appropriate to condone unwanted sexual advances or violence against women. Mr. Trump must realize that it has no place in public or in private conversations today or in the past.
Exactly. Unwanted sexual advances or violence against women.
Right.
It's not just about comments. It's about suggesting actions that are not just untoward, but illegal.
Dana, I've got to get to a break,
Okay.
Gloria. I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to continue on with this panel. I know people may be some people are brushing this off, saying this is locker room conversation. That may it may happen in the locker room, but most people in those locker rooms are not running to be the leader of the free world. What makes Republicans think that using comments like this, that someone is going to stand up for women's rights?
Groping women's genitals, trying to have sex with a married woman, and saying when you're a star, they let you do it. Already, some of Trump's own staffers admitting to CNN the story is appalling. One campaign source telling us the timing of the article could be a death knell. That's a quote. Out front tonight, Donald Trump supporter Scotty Now Hughes, Hillary Clinton supporter Maria Cardona. Her firm does a pro-Clinton super PAC. New York Times political correspondent Patrick Healy and Washington Post political reporter Philip Bump. Okay, thanks to all. Scotty, you're the first female, Trump surrogate to come out and speak since this happened. I don't know if you just heard the reporting a moment ago. Dana Bash was saying, a top GOP person who supported Donald Trump said, I don't know how any woman in America can vote for Donald Trump now. This is someone who supports him. What about you?
Well, those words are horrendous. They're dreadful. They're appalling. They're foul. But I will say this, the words of Donald Trump for 11 years ago are bad, but they're not near as bad as the actions of Hillary Clinton since she's been in office. There are 4 soldiers in Benghazi right now that are not with us right now because of Hillary Clinton's actions and could care less about Donald Trump's
Scotty,
work.
I understand what you're trying to do, and you're trying to do your job, right? You're trying to turn this to Hillary Clinton. But I do just have to ask you, has anything changed for you when you hear this about Donald Trump? You have come out here for over a year. You have defended him. Is it different this time?
Absolutely. No, well, no, the word, I've always said I don't agree with some of the language he used, but what this did to me, personally, it proved to me that Mr. Trump has not always wanted to run for office. His entire life has not been to get elected and say things to pander to people to get elected. He was not running for office at this time. He was a part of a world that produces movies and books and songs that use this type of language that I guarantee every single one of us has heard before tonight. And yet, and now he is running for president, but it just shows that he is only running for president for one reason only, because he has problems. He knows that this country has problems that he doesn't believe anybody else can fix. He wasn't a politician. He didn't want this office, but he knows that America's in so much trouble, he needs to help.
So, Scotty, I want to play for you part of this tape, a brief part, and I'll explain to you specifically why in just a moment, but let me just play something he said in this tape about Tic Tacs and kissing a woman. Here is Donald Trump.
I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
So, Scotty, I know a woman who heard that line today. It stopped her in her tracks. I have known this woman for years. She told me that when she heard this, she could only think of one thing, and that is what Donald Trump did to her. And I want to quote what she told me. She said, "The Tic Tacs. That's exactly what Trump did to me. Trump took Tic Tacs, suggested I take them also. He then leaned in," I'm reading this, "catching me off guard and kissed me almost on the lips. I was really freaked out. After, Trump asked me to come into his office alone. I figured I could handle myself. Anyway, once in his office, he kept telling me how special I am and gave me his cell phone and asked me to call him. I ran the hell out of there." That was in 2010. He was married at the time. This is the exact story that Trump said. This isn't Trump just saying something to make it up. This happened to someone I know.
Well, and I apologize, but honestly, that's something I don't even know that story. It's not been reported to. Mr. Trump has not said that, has not confirmed his campaign. I can't address to that issue. I don't think it's any surprise back to the audio tapes from 11 years ago that Mr. Trump has liked beautiful women. Like I said, he lived in that world. That was his world, celebrity. We see that all the time in movies. Doesn't excuse it, but if we're going to hold him accountable for the words he said 11 years ago, then we need to hold Hollywood celebrities accountable for their actions today and not allow them to be on the screen saying these same words.
I'm reporting that story right now. It's someone I know. It happened. The implication, this is just one person, of course, but when he told that story, is that he did this to a lot of people. He wasn't kidding when he said, I do. He gave her a Tic Tac. He tried to kiss her. This was in 2010. If these kinds of things start surfacing, does this change anything for you?
Well, did it change for Bill Clinton when he ran for office? I mean, he had 17 women that claimed rape, claimed sexual assault, claimed affairs with him, and that didn't change. In fact, if Hillary Clinton would have been honest at the time, as she was to her friend Linda, he has problems in this area because he didn't have a dad in his life and would have been honest, maybe we would not have had a 19-year-old in the Oval Office in a blue dress and a cigar. So if we're going to look at the background and start holding him accountable, but what we saw today was Mr. Trump apologized. He said this was wrong. He said he did not agree, that he would not do this. It shows that he is actually evolving.
Maria.
Aaron, I really do feel for my colleague Scotty, my colleague Corey, and all of the Trump supporters who have to now come on and really defend the indefensible. And we've always said that what he has done up until now, and even not counting this, has been indefensible. The problem with this is that Trump supporters love to say that he's running for office and people support him because he speaks from the heart. Yes, that is exactly right. He does speak from the heart, and that is what should scare everybody to our core. We have heard him now, what is in his heart, what is deeply in his heart, what he talks about when he thinks the microphones are not hearing him. And as a mother, as an immigrant, as a Latina, when I heard this story, Democratic strategist and Hillary Clinton supporter aside, it made me nauseous, Aaron. It made me nauseous. It made me want to go home and cling to my 9-year-old daughter with the thought that this is a man who, by the way, is now an irredeemable pervert, a predator, who is seeking the Oval Office, who wants to be our commander-in-chief and represent this country around the world, who will be somebody who supposedly should be a role model and somebody that our children look up to. God forbid.
Lots to discuss here. Joining me now, CNN political commentators Ana Navarro and Amanda Carpenter. Ana is a Republican strategist who does not support Donald Trump. Amanda is the former communications director for Senator Ted Cruz. Also with us, CNN chief political analyst Gloria Borger and CNN political commentators and Trump supporters Kayleigh McEnany and Scottie Nell Hughes. Kayleigh, let me start with you. RNC Chair Reince Priebus said no woman should ever be described in these terms or talked about it ever. Your response?
He's exactly right. It was hard to hear those words today. It's inexcusable. I think the statement was not enough. I think Donald Trump needs to humble himself and come out to the American people and say, I'm not the person I was 11 years ago. I'm a different person. I'm not that person, and I think that he needs to apologize to the American people, because if we know anything about the American people, they are a forgiving people. They forgave Bill Clinton for his transgressions in the Oval Office, and I do think they forgive when you humble yourself, and I think that that's what he needs to do, bottom line. It's inexcusable.
Apologize not just if people were offended, but apologize that he said it, period, correct?
100%, yes. Not just if people were offended. Apologize to the American people directly, all of them.
Amanda Carpenter, when you heard this, you had a somewhat visceral reaction.
Yeah, I mean, this is bigger than Trump. This is about the Republican Party. And if there's any elected Republican official who doesn't know what to say, they should call a rape survivor tonight and ask them what they heard when they heard Donald Trump say these words. Because this isn't, as Reince Priebus said, talking about something that Trump describes women this way. Trump is saying this is something that he did. This isn't harassment. It's not locker room talk. He is talking about sexual assault. There's no other way to frame this. And listen, I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. Last night we had the news on, and she pointed at the TV and said, Mommy, is that man a Trump? It's kind of funny. She doesn't know what's going on right now, but in a couple of years, she's going to watch shows like this and know what's going on. And this election is about how, right now, this election is going to be about how the Republican Party treats women. And right now, seeing the statements come out from other Republicans trying to dismiss this or go past it, I don't know what that answer is. I want to be in the party, but if they will not respect women and recognize that Donald Trump is boasting about sexual assault, we women cannot stand by this.
Scottie?
Well, these were comments that were made 11 years ago, and let me agree with Kayleigh. Let me agree with Amanda Carpenter. These are deplorable comments. They're horrible comments. They don't. There's no place for them, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. There's no place for them in America today. And I think we need to hold people that are in pop culture in Hollywood, who are in our rap music, who are in our reading. We need to hold them accountable just as much as we're going to hold for Donald Trump 11 years ago. But this just reconfirms he was not running for office back then. He didn't want to become a politician. He did not want to join government. He was a part of a different world than he is now. And he always said, I would only run for president if there was no one else to solve the problems that we have today. And officially, he feels like he's the one that can do it. And 14 million people in the primary agree with him, and those numbers have grown. And now I think it's just wonderful, the timing of this video coming out today, the same day that WikiLeaks comes out and puts out the Wall Street speeches that Hillary Clinton actually insults all the middle class. Says that the only reason why she talked bad about Wall Street is because that she, for political reasons. She says that, she and her husband, she can't really relate to middle class people right now due to the fact that she's not one of them anymore because of all the money her and her husband made. So the timing of these videos, I think this video also needs to be interesting to talk about.
You say it's 11 years ago. Yes, it's 11 years ago, but it's not like Donald Trump was in junior high. The guy was 59 years old when he said it, so he was a fully formed individual. And Gloria Borger, again, let's talk about Amanda's point right there. The pressure this puts on the Republican Party now to deal with this. Paul Ryan's supposed to be on a stage with him tomorrow in Wisconsin. What's going to happen?
This goes beyond crude talk to predatory behavior. And I think it's a tipping point right now for the Republican Party. And I think, my email has kind of been blowing from Republicans who are saying to me, Bush's former campaign manager said to me, Sally Bradshaw said to me, he's a pig, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. This is a Republican. I think that Democrats are going to force Republicans to say whether they still support Donald Trump for president. I think you're going to start hearing calls from Republicans privately and then maybe publicly to say, what's our plan B here? I think that this has gone beyond a matter, again, of crude talk and crude behavior and insults to women to something that's, quite frankly, predatory. And I think that the party has to grapple with this. You have the chairman saying this is inexcusable, and then there's a second thing. Okay, then what? Now what? Reince Priebus. And I think people are asking themselves that question tonight, and I think these are very sad conversations. I feel for the young people who are working in the Donald Trump campaign, who spoke to MJ Lee about how they feel about pouring their heart and their soul into a campaign, and now this tape comes out.
Let's talk about this. Joining us now, Clinton supporter and Democratic strategist Jonathan Tasini, Clinton supporter and MoveOn.org national spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre, Trump supporters Kayleigh McEnany and Andre Bauer. Andre is the former lieutenant governor of South Carolina. And with us also CNN chief political analyst Gloria Borger. Gloria, I'm going to start with you with this news we just got in about Paul Ryan, to which I just responded, wow. Donald Trump not appearing with Paul Ryan now tomorrow in Wisconsin. This tells you a lot.
It does. It seems to me like Donald Trump was disinvited to this event. It's very clear that Paul Ryan is following the lead set by his friend and colleague Reince Priebus, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, who also condemned the video, and so did Paul Ryan in the strongest terms. I think what this does is it gives every Republican, and don't forget, these are the two ranking Republicans in the Congress, gives every Republican permission to distance, separate, draw a divide, criticize Donald Trump. What they did not do is take that further step. And there's lots of Republican chatter about this, and I've been emailing with a bunch of Republican sources because the Democrats are going to push on this, which is, okay, it's one thing to condemn Donald Trump and to disinvite him from your rally, etc., but it's another thing to say, okay, I no longer believe he should be president of the United States. And this is what you're going to hear Democrats. I'm sure you'll hear Hillary Clinton talk about it, but I think what you're really going to hear it from is these Democratic Senate candidates and Democratic House candidates telling people that they ought to put their money where their mouth is. And if you condemn him so strongly, do you still support him for president of the United States?
Andre Bauer, Donald Trump's supporter. We have yet to hear from you this evening. This is a big deal. When the House Speaker, you know, the senior elected official in your own party, whom you were supposed to appear with tomorrow in Wisconsin, all of a sudden you were no longer appearing with him, that's a big deal. That's the sound of Republicans putting distance between themselves and Donald Trump. How much trouble is he in right now?
It clearly creates a divide. It creates a uncomfortable situation, and it's not a healthy thing to happen 34 days out before an election and 2 days away from a debate. I think he will move forward from this. Definitely it's an obstacle, and all of us have said things that we wish we could take back. This was many years ago. I'm not excusing it in any way, and it was guy talk, and quite frankly, it should have never, a radio, TV station should have never been recording, and furthermore, it shouldn't have released it. But where we are is now that it has been released, he has apologized. Hopefully he'll be able to move forward and get into debate mode. It will come up during the debate.
Not assault against women is not guy talk.
Right.
Saying I'm going to grab your pussy and assaulting women is not guy talk. That is a crime. And so for you to sort of say, well, it's an obstacle, and not stand here and say that Donald Trump, as Ana Navarro bravely said, must step down and cannot be president because he's a deranged individual, is astonishing to me. And by the way, this isn't something new. Let's go back and remember that Donald Trump didn't just use the words that Jim Johns recited that Tim Kaine talked about, fat, bimbo, pig. Donald Trump objectified his own daughter. Now, I want every man, every father of a daughter to think about this. Donald Trump talked about his daughter, talked about her being hot, talked about her in sexual terms. This man is deranged.
Look,
he cannot be president of the United States. Not only does he not know how to talk about women, he's willing to be abusive to women. Let's talk about his racism. Let's talk about his serial lying. Forget about partisanship. We're talking about the country now.
Look, I respect that you're passionate, and I respect
It's not about passion. This is about.
Are you going to let me respond? You know, I can't.
Go ahead, Andre.
Conversation. What I would tell you is Donald Trump has said some offensive things. There's nobody that argues that. Hillary Clinton has done things that jeopardized American lives. There is a big difference between offending someone and doing things that cost lives and put security of this country at risk. There is a vast difference.
I think we're happy.
Let me get Kareem.
I was going to say we're happy to talk about Hillary Clinton. Let's stick with Donald Trump for now.
I know you would want to.
I know what want to.
This is happening tonight. Let's let Kareem talk about this.
Let's just stick to what's going on right
Well,
now. What we saw, of course we have to do that. What we saw today was that Donald Trump is indeed a sexist, misogynistic pig, period. When you look at the definition of deplorable, you're going to see a picture of Donald Trump. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable what we had to listen to and hear for the last several hours. I mean, I would want our sons or our daughters to see that. He is not fit to be president of the United States. He should not get anywhere near the Oval Office. And to be quite honest, this is beyond partisan politics. The Republicans really have to seriously think about this right now. It's not just saying, hey, he shouldn't have said this. It's really thinking about, hey, this guy cannot be president. They need to unendorse him.
Right.
He is not fit.
You know what?
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent time with grieving mothers who've lost their children, laid off workers whose jobs have gone to other countries, and people from all walks of life who just want a better future. I have gotten to know the great people of our country, and I've been humbled by the faith they placed in me. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest. We're living in the real world. This is nothing more than a distraction from the important issues we're facing today. We're losing our jobs. We're less safe than we were 8 years ago, and Washington is totally broken. Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground. I've said some foolish things, but there's a big difference between the words and actions of other people. Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days. See you at the debate on Sunday.
Donald Trump's running mate, the governor, Mike Pence, was at a rally in Ohio last night, but he chose not to answer any questions from reporters about Donald Trump's comments. There have been other people who however, have been speaking out against Donald Trump on the Republican side and also from the Democratic side, including Hillary Clinton's vice presidential candidate, Tim Kaine.
It's just, I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach. I don't like to even say the words that he's used in the past when he calls women pigs, dogs, and slobs. I didn't like saying it on stage the other night with my mom and my wife sitting in the front row. But this is behavior that's just outrageous, and so that there would be a news story that would have more statements like this of this kind. I mean, gosh, I'm sad to say that I'm not surprised. I should be surprised and shocked. I'm sad to say that I'm not.
We're at a pivotal point for our nation. We got the Supreme Court, we got Obamacare, we got all these really important issues we have to deal with, and so he's put us in a terrible, terrible position. But I can't look my 15-year-old daughter in the eye and tell her I endorse this person to become the president of the United States. I just can't do it. I think what he said and how he said it was so abhorrent, so offensive. I hope nobody goes back and looks at that ever again. And then his so-called apology, that wasn't an apology. That was an apology for getting caught.
Well, the Kelly File is tonight getting an exclusive look at a strongly worded message from one Hollywood icon. And the man does not mince words. While one legendary actor's off-the-cuff comments for an ad campaign wound up on the cutting room floor of that Get Out the Vote effort, we have obtained an exclusive look at this actor's comments, and you know him very well. And here are Robert De Niro's thoughts on Donald Trump.
I mean, he's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future, vote for it.
Mark McKinnon served as the chief media advisor to President George W. Bush and is now the co-creator and co-host of the weekly documentary series, The Circus, on Showtime. Mark, good to see you. I mean, you know, De Niro is beloved. He's beloved in the country. You know, he's played such iconic roles, and to see him come out so forcefully and denounce Trump in those terms, you tell me whether it has any effect.
Well, what people really want to see on television and advertising and politics is something that's authentic. Most of the advertising that they see, they just start out believing, they don't believe any of it. They think it's all paid for, it's all scripted. Well, that's obviously not scripted. That's passionate, it's from the heart, it's totally authentic. So anything that communicates something that's authenticity and heartfelt and passionate is good. I mean, they should get that off the cutting room floor and put that on television because that's powerful. I mean, it's sort of Trump-like in the way that it's unvarnished and peels the paint off. But that's the kind of thing that voters actually want to see. They're tired of scripted stuff off teleprompters. That's the real thing, and that's what people want to see. That's what's powerful today in politics, something that's authentic and unscripted.
But does it have any effect? I mean, we know that the Trump voters, like his fan base, they're not going to care about that. In fact, Robert De Niro is going to get mean tweets in 2 seconds from now, right? But does that have an effect on the people, the swayable middle?
Well, he's a Hollywood icon, as you said, and people just assume that his politics are pretty lefty anyway. So, no, it's not going to do much, except that he's giving a passionate voice to people on the left. And what people on the left need right now is to be energized. Hillary Clinton needs to energize that base. She wants to have that turnout up, and so far it hasn't been particularly enthusiastic. So, given this tape, given the last week, given De Niro, I mean, De Niro's just giving voice to people saying, come on, this is real, this is a real threat, and he's giving energy and passion to a lot of the voter base that Hillary Clinton's been unable to articulate, like De Niro can.
I can't let you go without asking you what you make of the news, the Trump tape and the Hillary WikiLeaks, you know, what, again, not yet authenticated, but not yet denied by the campaign either.
Well, it's going to make for a spectacular debate because, I mean, first of all, Donald Trump has to show, you know, that's going to be front and center. He has to show contrition, empathy, remorse. I mean, he's got to deal with that front and center somehow, and you know, or it'll dominate the whole debate in the next news cycles. But the WikiLeaks issues give the Trump campaign a whole treasure trove of very good issues to attack her on that night. So they've got a lot to go on too. Good for both of them.
If I were Trump, I'd be studying up over the next 40 hours, studying a lot, studying WikiLeaks. Great to see you, Mark.